In our studio today, we have Jason Brewster. He was in before giving us his encounter of a hiking adventure he was on. And today we have him in here talking about a kayak adventure he's going on. Thanks for coming in, Jason.
Thanks, Mickey. I'm glad to be here.
Jason is planning this kayak adventure as a fundraiser for camp scholarships. So, Jason, how does the scholarship thing work? And give us the title of the Facebook page that you have set up for it.
It's called Palomino's Paddle for Camp. That's Palomino, Palomino''S. I can talk more about that, but it's for Camp Henry in Newaygo, Michigan. And the way the camp scholarships work is kids that might not have the financial means to attend camp, because summer camps can be pretty expensive, gives them the ability to attend camp. And not only does it do it for the summer camp, it also allows school groups, which the camps host a lot, and schools that might not have the funds to really send their kids to the camp. The scholarships will go to allow for those kids who may never get a camp experience again to have that experience. So it really allows for a lot of outreach, so kids can be kids and test themselves, and sometimes get in the high ropes and low ropes, and I don't know, maybe ride a horse, or all the fun stuff that I believe personally the kids benefit from.
That sounds like a really good cause. Is it like a week camp like we would go to?
Yeah, the summer camp, it's like a Sunday to Saturday. So you drop the kids off Sunday and pick them back up Saturday. If it's the spring or the fall, it tends to be more like a 3 or 5 day retreat. And it really just depends on what the school or group is looking for. You know, we worked with some addiction groups, adults, which they were a fun group to work with. I worked with Boy Scouts, and I helped some get their equestrian badge, because I was in charge of the horse program at this camp for 3.5 years.
Oh, so this is the actual camp that you worked at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just kind of holds a special place in my heart, because I kind of helped build up that horse program, and I love horses, and got to watch kids that would be completely scared of a horse, seeing them get on, and by the end of the week, they don't want to get off the horse.
Oh, that's neat. So I was going to ask you, how did you pick this camp? Well, now it all makes sense.
Right.
I mean, will they determine what kids need the scholarship, or do you have a say in that also?
Well, they determine the scholarships, because they already have an account for their scholarships. Like, they fundraise this all year. They go by the parents' financial abilities. With the school groups, they'll discuss what the school's capabilities are, to figure out like how much funding, like if they're going to pay 100% or 50%, or
So when are you planning this trip?
I'm hoping to start sometime around the first part of June, getting everything logistically finalized no later than the second week.
And Jason, how long does this trip take, or do you know yet?
Well, from my research, it takes 2 to 3 months to do this, because you're traveling around 2,500 miles. It's the Mississippi River. I don't think we mentioned that yet. But it starts in Lake Itasca, Minnesota, and it's actually 1,500 feet in elevation from where I'll end up, which is the Gulf of Mexico. So you'll slowly drop in elevation, and it's around 2,500 miles.
That's a long kayaking trip. And that I was going to ask you that. What, or better yet, where are you going to kayak? So you kind of touched on that just then. It's the Mississippi.
Yeah, the muddy Mississippi.
And starting in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's Lake Itasca, Minnesota. I think it's a little north of Minneapolis, which when I start, I'll actually be going north for a little bit before I go down south. Like there's a spot up there, like they have rocks that you can walk across the Mississippi, because it's so small right there.
Goodness, that's crazy to think of, because when you drive down the bluff here and you look at it from the boat ramp, it's so wide.
Right,
so
right. And
dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's relative. I know I learned water ski in the Mississippi, so that might have been the smartest thing.
We're not supposed to tell that. Well, that brings me to the next point. Yeah. Any worries that you have along this that you may encounter?
Nothing too bad. There's some big lakes. I think they call it Lake Winnie, but it's like Lake Winnipegogea. I can't remember the full name of it, but I think it's close to 30 miles across. And when you get out in that open water, if bad weather comes up and the water gets super choppy, it could be dangerous. I'll either go across or I'll have to kind of stay along the bank, which will probably be twice as long as...
I was going to say, that'll take you a lot longer, wouldn't it? And how fast you paddle, I suppose.
Right, which...
And the wind.
The wind, if I can get a good tailwind, it might not be so bad. Mm-hmm. Or if it's, just perfect and smooth as glass out there, I might just go for going all the way across. But if it's rough and stuff, I'm going to have to stick to the shore.
Jason, have you ever kayaked any long trips like that? I mean, obviously not this long, but like, let's say the longest kayak trip you've done.
Maybe 10 to 13 miles near Nashville, which that wasn't an overnight trip. That was me and some friends went out, and some of them were in canoes. I was in a sit-on-top kayak. It's just kind of one of those day trips. You enjoy some nature, you have a few adult beverages, and
picnic along the way.
Yeah, picnic along the way, and then just enjoy each other's company. So it wasn't a very strenuous kayak trip. Which this one will be a lot more strenuous.
So to think 10 or 13 miles, is that about what you could do in a day's time?
Depends on the type of kayak you have. Depends on the current of the water. Do you have a headwind or a tailwind? So is the wind blowing against you? Is the wind, kind of blowing with you? And then just how good in shape you are.
Well, that's another good point. I was going to ask you, do you plan on training for this trip, or is that even a thing, really?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of training in the sense of I've been going down to the chute, and I'll paddle up the canal, and sometimes I'll paddle around the chute a little bit. A lot of it is just trying to get used to the kayak, because I have a 14.5-foot long one that you sit in. Like, this is one that you could take and do some like ocean kayaking, like if I wanted to go down to the Gulf and get past the waves and stuff and kayak out there, I could potentially do it with this kayak. It's got like a rudder, which helps with what they call weathercocking, and that's when the wind's blowing you off course. I can use my feet to turn the rudder and to kind of keep me straight. Just have to rely on my paddle stroking skills.
So kind of like it kind of guides you, or like...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a steering wheel.
Yeah.
And because it's so long, it's also a little more difficult to turn than like a shorter, like say whitewater kayak, which is super short. They're very nimble. You can turn them. It's almost like a 0-degree mower. Whereas these, it's more like a limo and trying to turn in a tight spot. So it takes a little bit more to turn them because of their length and that too.
A little more challenging then, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about the equipment, if you have to buy certain stuff, but it sounds like you may have everything you need already then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got everything I need. I might need dry bags because I haven't packed the kayak yet. I am going to try to do a trip from here to Memphis, which just to give me a taste of it and to make sure all my gear works. I'm going to do that probably in May or so, long enough before the trip that I can recover or get some more, whatever else I might need, or even take back some stuff that I don't need. So.
Well, along the way, will you set up a camp, or what will you do at night? Or, I mean, you don't kayak through the night, do you?
No, and that's not usually advised, especially with the big barges.
Oh, barges, that brings about a whole other topic.
Oh, yeah. Especially at the beginning, you have a lot more designated campsites that are dedicated to this. So it'll be, they'll have like a shelter and like a toilet, a composting toilet in the woods and stuff. The beginning, I'll have more established. As you go further down, the campsites you have will be more the kind that you car camp and, or take your RV to. You might have to pay, or you find a boat ramp, or you find like a beach somewhere that's pretty cleared, so you would camp there. And then sometimes you come into town and you can leave your kayak at the marina, if there's a marina, and then, you can get a hotel and shower and stuff. So,
Well, so will you take a light tent with you for that type of camping?
yeah, I mean, it's the same tent I used on my hike. It's maybe 2 pounds. It's a two-person tent. You talked about how fast you can go. Weight is also another. Just like with the hiking, the more weight I bring, the heavier the kayak's going to be, and the slower it will go. So that I really want to try to get as light, because I learned so much from the hiking experience that light hiking is fun hiking, and I figure it's probably going to be about the same for the kayaking.
Well, I was going to ask, is there a weight limit that your kayak can hold anyway?
Yeah, I think it's registered at 350 pounds. So right now I'm around 200, maybe a little less, and then I've got 150 to play with. But if I can keep it down to 30, 40 pounds, I'd be really happy.
The lighter the better, yeah. That would include packing your foods and your dry goods and any kind of clothing as well?
Yeah, the only thing would be the water, because water weighs, I think it's about 8 pounds a gallon, so, I mean, that's going to be a necessary weight, and I'll probably have to have at least 3 to 4 gallons, especially on some of the longer stretches where you don't really have towns, and I don't really want to drink water from the Mississippi.
No, I would not advise that. So have you mapped it out, like what you think you will do, like per day, or do you have any kind of guide that kind of going to go by?
No, I mean, I've got the DNR maps for Minnesota, just because in the beginning you can get a little lost, but I'm just going to follow what my body says. Like, if my body is completely aching, it's like, all right, I need to take a break, maybe take a break for an extra day just to give some recovery time. But, similar with the hiking, I'll eventually get into the kayaking shape, where I'm sure my back and my core and shoulders and stuff are probably going to look the best they have in years.
I would say so, yeah.
I'm hoping I might get abs again. I haven't had those in a while. But as you get further down, you get in better shape, but you also, the river is starting to go faster, too. So, I mean...
just naturally?
Just naturally. When it starts, it goes anywhere between less than 1 mile an hour to like maybe up to 3 miles an hour. When you're getting down here, I've heard that the range is between 5 and 8 miles an hour. Even if you're paddling at 3 miles an hour, that's upward to 11 miles an hour you're going. So
it's pretty fast on the water.
Yeah. So if you do 8 hours of that, that's 88 miles.
Yeah.
And so the latter half should go by a lot faster than the first quarter or so.
So do you know how many states you'll be going through?
I would have if you hadn't asked.
Sorry.
It's, I think, 8 or 10, because you have Minnesota, Illinois, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana. So that's 8. Yeah, so it should be 8 states.
So you'll end up in the Gulf at Texas or Louisiana?
Well, if you follow the entire way, you'd be in Louisiana and you'd come out at the toe of the boot of Louisiana. Everything I've researched said that is a super dangerous way to go. And like once you get to New Orleans, you still have 90 miles before you reach the Gulf. So around the Baton Rouge area, there is another river that I'll get on that will take me the rest of the way. So I'll be coming out more the hill of Louisiana. I can't remember around what town it'll be, but I'll be coming out there.
How do you plan on getting to Minnesota to start, and then who gets you in at the Gulf? Do you have all that worked out yet?
I've got it vaguely worked out. So I've got some friends that I met from the camp, and because they're more northern, they'll help figure out how we can do that. What I'll be doing is renting a car, driving the kayak from here, and either Minneapolis or somewhere, hopefully drop it off, and then have someone, drive me the rest of the way. And then once I get down to Louisiana, I have some friends that went to LSU and stuff, and are going to help me find someone that is either in Baton Rouge or New Orleans or somewhere that they can come pick me up and help me get to a rent-a-car place. Or worst case, I'll just have to hitchhike get a ride to a rent-a-car place and come back and get my stuff.
I was going to say, if it were me, I'd be willing to bet that Debbie's going to want to be on the end at the end of that journey to pick you up and see you and make sure everything's okay.
I'm sure she would. She has a little bit of a fear going across big bridges. I wouldn't want to put her through that. I know she would be there if I needed her to be, but the nice thing about having lived a lot of different places, I've got a lot of friends all over, and people are very willing to help if you just ask. You know, so there's so many great people out there.
I mean, just speaking as a mom, though, I think I want to be there at the end just to make sure. Okay, I got to lay my eyes on you after all that.
Well, I'll see her when I come through here.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got it all worked out. Sounds like a really good plan and trip and cause. Mm-hmm. And we definitely want to talk to you when you wrap all of this up.
Okay.
But in the meantime, tell them about the Facebook page, and that if they want to donate or know anything else about kayaking.
Yeah, so like I said, it's Palomino's Paddle for Camp. I really like alliteration, and it's called Palomino because that's a semi-name I got at the camp I worked at. I had some kids call me Palomino, which it has a funny background story.
Do you want to tell us that?
Yeah, I can real quick. So every day at the camp, we would meet up and do a roll call of all the cabins that we have. So they would go through and make sure each cabin's there, and when they call your cabin out, you do like a funny song or whatever it is. I originally started with Buckskin because that's the cabin I was in my first summer. And then I got switched over to Palomino, which these are the original cabins at the camp. Mm-hmm. Like from 1936, 1938.
Oh, wow.
I can't quite remember the year it was established, but it had its 75-year anniversary while I was there, so that lets you know how long it's been around. But it would get to me, and I would come up with these, I would say, Palomino fact of the day, and I'd yell it out. And I would say, basically, like, something similar to, like, those Chuck Norris jokes you hear where, you know, like, when Chuck Norris does a push-up, the earth actually goes down, you know, or Chuck Norris has a fist, or a third fist in his beard, or something crazy like that. Well, I would do that, but I would just crank it up to 11, and if Chuck Norris had a third fist in his beard, I had 100 fists in my beard, or, you know, whatever. It was just ridiculous stuff, and then I would yell out Palomino at the end and ring my Mississippi State cowbell, and a lot of the kids really enjoyed hearing those random facts. And one thing of pride, I never repeated a given in a summer.
Oh, you had that many fun facts to give made up or something?
Yeah, I had a lot, and the summer would go 8 or 9 weeks. So,
wow.
So I came up with a lot, and, you know, because we have some kids that would come for 2 weeks in a row, and I didn't want them to hear any of the same stuff that they heard the last week. So a lot of the kids would call me Palomino, and then my kayak's name, and I actually have a name for it, is Solomon, which is named after the horse I used to ride a whole lot at the camp. So his name was Solomon. I still miss him. He was one of the best horses to ride. I could do anything on him. You know,
he trusted you, obviously.
He trusted me, and I trusted him. And he was just this beautiful red foundation quarter horse, and, you know, he did have an attitude to the other horses and to other people.
So you kind of like
gelled. Yeah, I guess we both had that hard-headed attitude. So.
Well, I can tell that Camp Henry has a real dear meaning to you.
Well, I mean, it's a meaningful place to a lot of people. Executive director, you know, he had been going to that camp since he was a little kid, and, you know, and working at the camp, like, during the summer. He was the summer camp director, and then eventually became the executive director. But I forgot how many years he's been there, like 50, not that long, maybe 30-something years.
Mm-hmm.
And he even says, if you ask him, that where do you want your ashes spread, or where do you want to be buried, and he wants to be buried at the camp or have his ashes spread at the camp. So like that's how much love a lot of people that go to that camp have. Lots of people that were summer camp counselors met their significant others at the camp and stuff too. So like, and there's I met kids that are third, fourth generation, people that have gone to that camp.
Goers.
Yeah, so it has a long generation. A lot of people really love the camp, and it had a special place in my heart too.
Yeah.
So
I can tell just in the way you talk.
But anyway, back to the Facebook page. As if you go to the Facebook page, you'll be able to find a link so you can donate money to the camp, and it goes directly to their bank account. Like I don't touch it. I have nothing to do with it. It goes straight to them. And the goal right now is 10,000. But obviously, if we make more, I would love that too. But and then if you like and follow us, I'll be trying to document and put in a lot of updates as I go down. It might not be every day, especially like down here. The phone reception's terrible, but I'll definitely be keeping people posted and with the adventure. So
along the way or leading up to?
Along the way, I haven't done much leading up to.
But going forward, as it gets closer, you'll be
Yeah.
having to, right?
Right. I'll have to keep doing it, and I hope I can reach out to maybe some TV broadcast stations through some of the bigger cities, and try to get the word out a little bit even more. But so that's what I'm hoping to do this summer. That's my summer plans.
That's a big plan, and we wish you the very best. So it's Palomino Paddle for Camp Facebook page, or they can reach out to us here at the radio station and to get in touch with you if they need more info.
Yeah, if you need more information, I'm happy to answer anything. And I know Mickey is happy to help me out in any way she can.
I sure am. We'll keep you informed and updated on any new developments.
Okay, and I'll be happy to come back and talk about the trip when I get done.
We'll follow the Facebook page.
All right, thank you, Mickey.
Thanks, Jason.